Hi, everyone. I'm Logan Baldwin. I'm the executive director of Climate Film, and with me I have Derek Willis, director, co-writer of Endless. So, Derek, why don't you tell us a little bit about your filmmaking background?
I went to filmmaking school out of University of Redlands, and then I've been making films since, through the 2000s, basically since 2000, or actually since 1998. Yeah, and I mostly started as an editor and writer, and then really trying to push since 2012, moving back to Oregon from LA. Um, in 2011, 12, and been making short films and commercials and stuff here in Portland.
Very cool. What kind of commercial work have you done?
Just local stuff with Friends Bread, Roller Derby League, AARP, stuff like that.
Very cool. Very cool. What inspired you to make a film about a realities loop sort of deal?
Um,
There's a lot of like multiverse movies coming out right now, and what do you think sets your film apart from it?
um, hmm. Well, I mean, it does the introduction of the kind of a Greek god playing with stuff, I think a little bit different, as well as the fact that it's three people murdering each other over and over and over again. They don't really, they're kind of stuck in that mindset where they're not even questioning that they can end it. It's this idea that it's just they're so stuck that there is no, this is what it is. Like there's no other reality. There's not a fix to this, as you've seen in other kind of reality loop films, whatever the one Andy Sandberg film a few years ago that comes to mind. And this wasn't, I mean, I kind of came to this as in the second half of the co-writer aspect. Stephen Jackley, who's a great writer here in Portland, has sometimes has a midnight creative streak, and kind of ran this one out a few pages, and then sent it to me, and I it kind of sat there for a little bit, and I finally was like, let's play with this. Let's add some more. I think this would be really interesting, and also that that filmmaking challenge, that just skill challenge, technique challenge. Okay, how do we do this? How do we put this up and make it something that's fun, and that we can hang our hat on, and be really cool. So and I think we did that. I mean, we had a great time making it. And a lot of the stuff that we aim for really hit. So
Totally. So, so you and Steven, you co-wrote together, or is it more of a he wrote it and then sent it your way, and then how does that process go for you guys? Do you
for he and I mean, last year I had a film in Klamath called Whispers, and we collaborated on that one as well. And it is basically, Steven has a tendency to write five or six short films in a week or something. Like he just has a creative streak that'll hit, and he's like, "Hey, I have a bunch of scripts. Anybody want them? I can't make them all." He's also a director, a very good one here in Portland as well. Um, and this was one of them, and it's just one of those things that I see it, and he's allowed me over the years to just kind of like, okay, I like this idea, this concept. Let's put in some stuff. Let's thicken it up a bit. Let's bring in some character and relationship stuff that he just didn't have time to put in. I mean, he really did one draft and put it out there. And so and typically that's basically what it's been. Like he does a draft. It's a great concept. I'll snag it, add a few things, pepper in some stuff, and then we'll see if that we want to go make it. Basically, is how it ends up. So.
totally what do you enjoy most about like working together as co-writers?
I mean, I think it's been, he comes at things from just a weird place, and it's a nice jumping off point. And I've been kind of been focusing more on directing, and haven't really been writing that much over the last several years. And so it's just been a nice, like, oh hey, this is a nice short. We could go do this pretty easily. And especially with Steven, he's definitely in the horror genre. And so when he comes up with stuff, it's usually pretty on the low end of the budget. So it's stuff that we can actually do. without a ton of money, and we can actually put it up and get it done pretty quickly. So and that's something that it's just fun. It's a nice relationship that he and I have gotten there, and he's been really happy with what I've been able to do with the stuff that he's given me. I think this is our third film that we've done together in this way. So it's worked out pretty well.
Very cool. I wanted to ask you, with the more non-linear story, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced during production? I always wonder about like, I wonder if like, especially with sort of the layout of this story, was it difficult to keep like costuming or set design straight? Did you, or
Yeah, it was a bit, well, it was a bit tough actually originally. So in the film you'll see that every time it loops, everything changes for the most part. And that was actually something that came in after I had originally going to really having everything be the same every time it looped. But to add complexity, to add just more depth to it. We were like, what if everything changes every time? What if this isn't just a stuck in time loop, but also they're kind of flipping realities? And what if we did that? And that was something that our producer Robert Harney threw in and kind of threw at me. And so which actually made that idea of it a lot easier, because when we looped, everything could change. We didn't have to worry about any kind of continuity, because once we looped, we were in a whole new thing. And so it helped us out actually in doing that. Though it did make it, we needed a lot more stuff to fill the background. To change that every single time became a bit of a thing. And not having a giant crew, most of it was on me, hitting up the Goodwill outlets and stuff, and just cobbling together as much background prop and stuff that we could. And our gaffer Haley McCoy, along with the DP Stephen Bishop, just coming up with different lighting setups to make it all different and cool each and every time and stuff. So and they did such a great job doing that. And the backgrounds on some of those are really such a cool thing. I just saw it on Saturday at a festival in Austin, and it was so cool to see that. So again, and playing whatnot, I just love it.
fantastic. Yeah, I agree. I think it turned out really well. I didn't think of it like the continuity as being a great way to like see the bright. Like, yes, you have a lot more work to do, but here's the bright side. You don't have to
Yeah.
work. Oh, I didn't think of that, and I kind of love that way of thinking. Anyway. Um, how do you think that directing Endless contributed to your growth as a filmmaker? Did you learn any big lessons from this one specifically?
Um, Yeah, and I mean, there's always lessons you learn. I mean, we had some issues. We were trying to do some stuff. There's a gunshot bit that goes off that doesn't quite work. It's what's in the film is actually a second take, because the first one didn't quite go off the right way, and we had to make it work with a second one and cut it the way that it is. But I think and Justin, I mean, there's some scheduling stuff that I could go into as far as everything, anything and everything, no matter how much. I mean, this film was planned very well as far as stock lists and storyboards and scheduling and all this stuff that we did to make it as good as as easy as we could to do that. But even that, first day of filming, I had three people call out sick, and we had a bunch of other people drop out for other projects and stuff that went long or that were just happened to coincide. So you end up just going, okay, well, we just kind of keep rolling on and doing that. And in this one there was a lot, just I think working with the actors is always fun, and there's always challenges, because I mean I never worked with any of the three actors in this, and everybody's got different personalities and different things they need to do stuff, and so you're constantly learning from them about what's going to take to get to the next, get them through that scene. And so I always love that idea, and taking the time to do that. And that was again one of the things that we really put into this one was taking the extra time. We planned extra to give it several days. I think we shot over 3 days to do it, and that gave us a lot of time to be able to get exactly what we needed and not feel rushed and stuff. So yeah,
I'm glad to hear that. It's always to over prepare in pre-production. It's always best too.
definitely.
So I read that you started your career as a PA and then to an editor and then to a director. Do you have any how have these experiences shaped your approach to directing specifically?
Oh, well, I mean, starting as a PA, I mean, that's where the pre-production like mindset comes from because I don't want a PA there. I mean, I did 16-hour days in Hollywood, and that's just wrong. Like you shouldn't be doing that. And that, and especially with makeup, sometimes that's hard. But at the same time, with decent planning, we did a film back in January that, had a pretty significant makeup bit, and we just, okay, this is how long this is going to take, so that we're going to make sure that we schedule for that. And then from an editor standpoint, going in, I think it's one of the best places to start as a filmmaker editing, because you get to see what it takes to put it together and how much it takes and what that all looks like, and you learn so much from people's mistakes and what they've done correctly and what they haven't, and like all the little things that really take time, like what it takes to direct. And then when you actually get to directing, you can really, what you're going to need, those bits, those things and how it's going to look. And especially having been an editor and editing most of my stuff, I can, for the most part, really go, okay, I can plan that way and save some time. I don't need this. I do need this. Here's what I want to focus on. If we have time, once we've gotten this, maybe we can get these other things. But this is the most important thing. And the other stuff, if we don't get it, it's not I feel like knowing how I'm going to put it together, that I'm not going to need it. So it really helps in being able to do that.
Fantastic. Do you have any advice for aspiring filmmakers that are starting out at that PA level like you did?
Um, I mean, I think the most part, I mean, one of the best lessons that was taught to me was always, you're, especially as a PA, you're there to help. You're there to be on your toes and to jump in and to make sure that, somebody, you're lending a hand everywhere kind of thing. It gets a little bit, within reason, of course. I mean, I always, my, like atmosphere on set is always referred to as hurry up and wait. I've never been a fan of that. My mantra on set for something like that is hustle and anticipate. Because if you're hurrying up, you're out of control, you're rushing, and if you're waiting around, you're not paying attention. You're just sitting there. And if you're hustling, you're in control, you're doing stuff. And if you're anticipating, you're paying attention to what's up. So you know when to jump in, when to lend a hand, and you're right there waiting for them to call cut so you can come in and do something, or know when something needs to be cleaned up or whatever. And that's kind of my thing. Outside of that, if someone wants to be a filmmaker, I always recommend the 48-hour projects that run around. I think they're a great place to start as a filmmaker. Get a team together and go do one, because it's such a great quick way of learning so much within film that is insane. It's a tough weekend, but it is such a great, doing those 48s is such a creative outlet, and it's such a great way to start and get to know people and learn what it takes to make a film. It's kind of a crash course, but it works.
I wouldn't have thought of that. That feels so intimidating to me. I've talked to people who have participated in the 48, and it just like, I don't know. I need the time. I need to be able to prepare. I need all of these things. It's very intimidating, to jump.
Yep.
But I totally get it. I can totally see it as a great educational tool.
Yeah. I mean, and yeah, especially for Wayne Weekend, it can be intimidating, but you get if you join a team, so you have some people maybe who have done it at least once before or whatever, that helps, and that way you can kind of learn how they do it or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's a cool outlet. You know, it can be a lot of fun. It's a long weekend, like I said, but you know, it's good times.
Jumping back to Endless, what do you hope that audiences will take away from it? Do you think there's like a particular message or a feeling that you want them to leave with after watching the film?
Yeah, I mean, kind of one of the things that I put into it, or as you know, looking at the story and was like, oh, okay, it's just these three people, this relationship between the three of them. And then I started thinking about relationships and kind of the idea, um, there's just, you know, a kind of bad relationships in a way, but also just in life as well. Like, what do you do when you feel stuck? And that's kind of what this kind of idea that I put into these characters. Like, it feels like it could go on forever and there's no ending to this stuckness that you are, and you're just always in this thing, and is this, whether it's a rut or it's a relationship or it's your career or whatever, you know, that's kind of one of the things that I really put into it. And that there's this, you know, just kind of wanting to solidify that feeling in this sci-fi kind of thing that we put together, and give it a kind of context, outside of really showing, you know, a dramatic piece like that and having a little bit more fun with it. And that's really kind of one of the subtextual things that I slid in there, and these characters doing this stuff. So, um, and we'll see what happens next. I don't know. Steven's talked about making it into a feature, so maybe we'll get a little bit more of that. I don't know.
Very cool. Very cool. That actually jumps into my final question for you, which is, what is next for you as a filmmaker?
We're talking about that now. I mean, I'm actually really in a or B kind of idea of a. We have a really great feature that I just wrote that I'm really thinking about doing. I have another short that I would love to do that's a cyberpunk bit, but I'm at the moment I'm leaning towards the feature. It's really, you know, single location, 80 pages. We're like thrillery kind of bit, dark comedy thriller, and you know, I think we really would love to you know, take a shot at that and do it. And so I think that's kind of where I'm leaning right now, but that's kind of where we've been in a bit of a writing phase at the moment. So um so we're, you know, we're weighing the possibilities at this time, but I think I'm leaning towards making this feature. I think we can do it. I think we do it for a low end budget and really make it great. So yeah, I think that's where I'm going.
I absolutely can't wait to see it. I hope it's in the film festival soon.
Yeah.
Well, are there any final words before signing off here?
Not really. Thank you to everybody who watched the film. I'm really appreciate it. We love all of our audiences, and it's always such a great thing to be a part of the festival. So
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Jarek Willis, for submitting your film to the Klamath Independent Film Festival. Endless will be available on Eventive for a limited time as part of our online showcase.